When OP-1 first launched in 2011, it changed the way we make music on the go. And the dawless community here on YouTube, as well as on Instagram, has a lot to thank this device for. Hi, I'm Shines. I make music here on YouTube as well as on Instagram, and I just want to thank you all for joining me here on my channel. Today, I want to share with you 5 of my best tips on how to get started with OP-1 so that you can start getting the most out of this amazing instrument. Number 1, set up your favorites. OP-1 has 8 quick access presets that you can get to using one of these numbered buttons here. Start by selecting one of the preset buttons that you want to now assign a new sound to. So I'm going to hold Shift and press 2. I'm now looking at the OP-1 sound library, and if I use the blue encoder as well as the green encoder to choose a sound, I've now selected a sound. This also works for drums and samples as well. And this is absolutely perfect for playing a set or performing live with your favorite sounds. Number 2 is recording volume. Recording things to the digital tape track on this is an absolute joy, but when sounds are too loud or clipping, they can tend to cause some problems. So my advice would be go into the mixer page, go to the first section there, and set all of the volumes to something like 80, or in my case, I like 75. If you start at a lower volume, you can increase the volume again later using the drive and release functions, or the gain and compressor functions. But it's important to give that function enough headroom to boost your sounds without clipping them. It's probably a good idea to turn drive and release off as well while you're recording. When you're in the tape track, you can use the red encoder to set your gain while you're recording. And I would recommend setting this to about 75% up as well. So now that you can record at a good volume with a sound that you really like, let's talk about actual recording. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a big problem when it comes to recording things in tempo. Even with something like a metronome or a drum beat, a lot of times I do end up missing the mark, and that sounds organic and interesting most of the time, but if you really want to be on the beat, I suggest you use one of the built-in sequencer modes. The endless sequencer is really good for this, but honestly for things like beats, you can't go wrong with the monkeys. Set up a sequence to play, set your playhead to the starting point of your recording, hold the record button down, and then trigger your sequence. Your sequence is going to play beautifully, aligned perfectly with the tempo. When you're finished recording your tape loop, you're most likely going to want to move on to the next tape loop. And that might involve changing the tempo of the tape to something new. And therein lies an issue if you ever want to go back to your original tape loop and record things over that. What I like to do is activate the microphone here and record a very short voice memo of the tempo that I recorded that tape loop at. 1:16. Then when I'm going back through my tape, I'll always remember what tempo to set OP-1 at in order to get back to those perfectly aligned tape loops. So my final tip is when all is said and done, and you've filled up your tape with as many different tape loops and recordings as you possibly could. By plugging OP-1 into your computer, you now have the ability to move these tape tracks onto your computer hard drive. Once you do that, you can delete everything that's on the OP-1 tape and you can start back at the beginning. Come up with a nice organized file system on your computer. You can keep them by name or mood. Keep in mind you can always, at any point in time, reinstall these onto your OP-1 and swap out your tape to an older one to work on it again. And if you're looking for more information on this tip specifically, I have a whole video about massively expanding your OP-1 capabilities using your computer. Things like moving your tape tracks off, using your OP-1 with your digital audio workstation, that's all in this video. OP-1 is such an inviting instrument. Really, every time I look at it, I get inspired to create something new. So start creating, stick with your creative journey, and I'll catch you in the next video.